Hello everyone, this is Amy Belk with Tree of Life Health Coaching, and I'm coming to you today to bring a recipe for chocolate chip cookies that I absolutely love. It took me 2 years to find a gluten-free recipe that was awesome and chewy and delicious, and I didn't feel like I was missing anything that I had loved about chocolate chip cookies before. So we're going to tackle this recipe today. It's going to be fairly quick, but we've got a few unique ingredients that I just want to talk about quick. So first I will rattle off the recipe for you. So if you're wanting to write this down, you can, or you can go to my website, treeoflifehealthcoaching.com, and look it up. It's under the best chocolate chip cookies ever is the name of the recipe. So the recipe is 1 cup of raw almond butter, 3/4 cup of coconut sugar, 1 egg plus 1 egg yolk, 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt. So we're going to start off with the raw almond butter, and the reason that I say raw is that you're going to want it to have that kind of granulated, chunky piece to it. Plus, the more that you process and work nuts, the more oil they tend to release, and that will make this specific cookie mix kind of really flatten out on the cookie sheet. So this is what the almond butter looks like. You can see it's chunky, it's thick. It just gives, this is what makes the cookie. It is so good. So next we're going to add this coconut sugar. You can see it looks kind of like brown sugar, but it's a sugar that's lower on the glycemic index, and it's a natural sugar. So it's not going to affect your blood, it's not going to make your blood sugar spike as much as table sugar would. So I'm just going to work this throughout the almond butter. As you can see, it's getting kind of thick. I'm just stabbing at it, trying to find, to get the granulated sugar into the spots of the almond butter that are wetter, so that it becomes more integrated with the almond butter. So you're just going to want to keep doing this pretty much until you don't have any, you don't have very much of the granulated sugar kind of just laying around. So as far as where you can find granulated sugar, or the coconut sugar and the almond butter in the supermarket, is in our local store here. You can either find it at a co-op or any health food store. You'll find coconut sugar on the shelf in the baking section, and you'll find the almond butter, usually it's on an end cap somewhere near the bulk foods section, maybe in your health market section for all of you locals who shop at Hy-Vee. They usually have a machine on an end cap that's full of raw almonds, and you flip the switch and out comes your perfectly ground raw almond butter. And again, you're going to want to avoid using a store packaged like roasted almond butter, because it's just going to make your cookies come out flat. Alright, so you can see that I kind of got that all mixed up and integrated into the almond butter. Next, we're going to dump in the salt and sugar, which I've already pre-measured here. I'm sorry, salt and baking soda, which I've already pre-measured, and I'm just going to sprinkle that around the sugar and almond butter mixture. Next, I'm going to measure out the 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla. And again, I'm just going to kind of drizzle that all the way around. That was 1 teaspoon. Here's my half. Okay, and again, you're going to do the same thing that you did before. Just kind of mix it up by stirring, stabbing, getting it all mixed really well together. This is not a recipe that you want to use a mixer on, because as I mentioned before, the more that you work the nuts, and by that I mean beating them, stirring them, the more oil they're going to release, and that's going to be bad for your cookie. So this seems kind of tedious, but it's well worth it. Trust me, the cookie tastes unbelievable. So yeah, just kind of keep stabbing at it, working it over top, back and forth. in the grand scheme of things, this cookie recipe doesn't take any longer than most other chocolate chip cookie recipes. And if you're a gluten-free person, or you just want to eat a healthy cookie that's made out of whole food ingredients, then you are going to love this, and the time that your arm spends kind of chopping all this up is going to be well worth it. So next I'm going to add the egg, and I've already pre-beat that egg with the egg yolk mixed in. Again, I'm just going to drizzle it over the top. Get all of that worked into the dough in the same manner that we've done before. Just really getting it mixed up. And this is going to make your cookie mixture pretty wet. Or your batter, I should say. So I'm a gluten-free person, and I love a Chewy cookie, and it took me 2 years to find this recipe. I can't tell you how many chocolate chip cookie recipes I tried. Many of them got hard, either right away out of the oven, which I'm not a fan of a crunchy cookie. I know lots of people are, but personally I'm not. So some of the other ones that I tried were soft when I first took them out and chewy, but then after a day they were about as hard as a rock. So when I found this recipe and tried it, I was over the moon ecstatic. And not to mention, it is a healthy recipe. So it's only got, you know, this many ingredients that you saw, and it's less than 5 grams of sugar per cookie and about 3 to 4 grams of protein per cookie. So there is my mixture, final mixture here. And the last thing I need to add is my chocolate chips. I've already got those pre-measured. This is a 1/2 cup of chocolate chips in this recipe. And I like to use the mini chocolate chips just because, I don't know, I like them. There's a brand that I have found that is soy-free, dairy-free, and gluten-free. It's called Enjoy Life chocolate chips. And they have either chocolate chunks or they have these little mini chocolate chips. So I first started out with the chocolate chunks, but then I didn't like having to grind them up in my food processor because they ended up turning into more of a powder than chunks. So, and then the chunks themselves were too big. They were about like that long. So just way too big for a cookie. So when I found the mini chocolate chips, I was super excited, and that's kind of what I buy all the time now. I'll use these mini chocolate chips in banana muffins, banana bread, pumpkin muffins. All right, so there is our final batter, and we are going to go ahead and put that on a cookie sheet. I like to use parchment paper under my cookies, even though they are, my cookie sheet is an aluminum cookie sheet, so it's a lighter color, but I just like the way the parchment paper, how they cook on the bottom with the parchment paper. I'm using a Pampered Chef 1 teaspoon scoop here, and if you use this size of a scoop, you'll get about 24 cookies out of this recipe, which is awesome because you're going to want to eat them all in one sitting, although I would highly advise not to do that. That kind of takes away from the whole healthy cookie idea. But you know, 5 grams of sugar is really not very much, and the fact that you're getting some protein out of these makes them a really great snack. Great snack for the kids to come home and have after school. So I can fit 12 cookies here on my cookie sheet with this 1 teaspoon scoop. And we're going to go ahead and bake those at 350 in your oven. Now I would advise setting your timer to about 8 minutes because every oven is different. So mine tends to heat up a little slower. So my first batch I cook at 8 minutes, my second batch I cook at 9 minutes. But you know the heat of your oven, so just play around with that. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video while I cook these, and then we'll check out what they look like when we're all finished. So I'll be right back. Okay, so we're back with our final product, the best chocolate chip cookies ever. I wanted to just take them off the sheet and show them to you so you can see they've got nice height. They're not super flat. And they really break apart really nicely, gooey inside. Taste wonderful. So I usually just take mine out and let them cool on the pan for 10 minutes before I scoop them off. So I've already done that. So you didn't have to wait 10 minutes for me. But then I just transfer them to a cooling rack and let them hang out for at least another 10 minutes or so before I put them in a container. They are chewy and gooey, so they need some time to kind of set up. So that's it for today. My dog just went running by and I'm afraid she's going to start barking like crazy. So I hope you try out the recipe. If you need it, again, it's at my website, treeoflifehealthcoaching.com. And thanks so much for joining me on my Friday baking day. Thanks.